Hello and welcome. I am Silvia Pavoni, economist editor at the bank, and I'm joined by Silvio Peruzzo, who is senior European economist at Nomura. Silvio, this week is going to be very eventful, very likely for Italy, as we're going to hear probably the court's ruling on the Berlusconi case. There is obviously still a lot of uncertainty about many of the reforms that Italy should embark upon. And on top of this, we also have a banking system which still is very much shaky. What is your view on the country?
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. I think we need to look at the political dimension as a very, very serious item in the expectations that we need to form regarding the economic outlook for the country, but also what the market perceives to be, I would say, the stability of the improvement that we've seen so far, especially on the bond market side. I would say that political uncertainty has been one of the major reasons while expenditure sector, small and medium enterprises, which are the bulk of the supply side in Italy, have been refraining investments. Probably since the beginning of the year, where the elections, the uncertainty after the outcome, and I think that the case on which we will probably hear over the next few days has the potential to open up another phase of uncertainty, which is not good for the economy, because we will have additional doubt about the stability of the government, and that is negative for the economy, but at the same time I have implication for the market and where bond yields in Italy could go. Now, I'm more concerned on the economic front, at least in the very short term, than on the market front, for the simple reason that I think the market has learned partially to live with the political instability, which is one of the key features of the Italian political landscape.
So you don't think it's going to be a major disaster if this government, for example, will have to dissolve?
I think it's obviously negative. The market will react to that, but don't expect that to be a major panic trigger event, as of the lines that, for example, we've seen in the past for other countries in the Eurozone when a government collapsed. I think the market is more resistant. We've seen it, for example, with the most recent developments in Portugal, where there was some political instability that has been buffered relatively well, I would say, by the market.
What about uncertainty for Italian corporates, which have to plan they're already struggling with growing, they have to plan the strategy for the future?
No, absolutely. That is a major issue. There are, I think, indications that the real economy is very sensitive to the uncertainty related to the fiscal outlook. If you take, for example, the consumer confidence figure that we had, the last two print, they've been improving sizably, and you could arguably make the case that the delay of the VAT increase and the postponement of the payment of the property tax had a positive implication on the consumer. At the same time, if you look at corporates, if you don't know what's going to be the fiscal outlook for the next 12 months, you will be in a wait-and-see mode, and that could continue pretty easily. Now, if you look at the level of investment in Italy, that's remains at very distressed levels. So I think clarity on the political front is very important.
It's very much needed, even more so than on the international front, perhaps. What about the ties with the banking sector? Obviously, a major issue in these countries, and at this time is being able to access financing. What is the current state in Italy?
That's another factor which I think is intertwined, if you want, with the political uncertainty and the recession itself. What the most recent observation about the banking system and its posture towards the real economy are telling us is that, on balance, banks are still tightening their credit standards for the real economy. And that's something which is predominantly related to the recession. And as we said, one of the elements which is pinpointing the recession now, which we expect to continue in the second quarter of the year with the data that will be released shortly, the political uncertainty is also related to the factor. So banks fear that the economy is weak. The economy is weak, it's a matter of fact, and as a consequence of that, they increase their lending standards, both in terms of requirements which are not interest rate based, but also by shrinking the pool of corporates which get access to to the funding from the banks. Now, there have been some signs of easing of these constraints at the European level, but I think it's very premature to come to the conclusion that banks are willing and happy to lend to the Italian corporate sector.
And how do Italian banks, how does the Italian banking system compare with other European markets from the corporate lending side?
The most recent information that we have, which comes from quarterly survey data that the Eurosystem compiles and distributes, seem to indicate that the Italian banking system is still much more cautious to lend to the real economy compared to some other economies that have seen much more remarkable signs of improvement. So both, I think, from a GDP performance perspective, but also from a measure of improvement of the funding channel from the real economy, I think it's fair to say that Italy is lagging behind compared to some other countries which have seen some more significant sense of improvement.
Do you think this is likely to change anytime soon?
There are many constraints. I think there are some positive signs. We mentioned the consumer confidence. There are some positive signs coming from the manufacturing cycle, which is linked probably to the, I would say, improvement that we've seen in the US economy, and partially also so far the resilience of some Asian economies, which, however, we do expect to slow down pretty significantly, to continue to slow down. That's especially China and neighbors' economy story. But I think there are indications that the manufacturing cycle has stabilized, and that so far has helped giving signs of improvement in some of the macroeconomic indicators for Italy and for the region as a whole. But I think it's still too early to come to the conclusion that the economic outlook is brightening on a persistent basis, because the domestic sector is still pretty weak.
So we should remain cautious, but
Definitely.
hopefully things will improve too. And thank you so much for your comments.
Pleasure to be here.